6 days to go to Election Day, you couldn't ask for a better rally. And you couldn't ask for a better closer than President William Jefferson Clinton, our 43rd president. Thank you. Now for me, this feels like coming home. You know, I was Associate Dean for Admissions here at UC Davis. My wife is an Aggie. She went to medical school here. So my office was just right over there. So it's great to be back here on the Davis campus. Now my story always starts with the story of my parents. You know, my mom and dad came here in the 1950s as immigrants. They came here from India. They came here as generations of immigrants, really just looking for a chance. What that Republican has against immigrants, mind you. We're a nation of immigrants, one generation after another. My parents settled here in California. My mom became a public school teacher, my father an engineer. I'm a lifelong Californian, born and raised here. It's the greatest state in the country. Now, I'm a product of our public schools, from kindergarten through community college to undergrad and to medical school. Earlier, you heard one of your speakers say, I paid $393 a quarter to go to medical school. Can you imagine that? I'm looking out at a bunch of college students out there, and I know that isn't the case. So I could go to 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of medical school, work part-time, get some student loans, and graduate with less than $10,000 of debt. That's remarkable. Now, the reason why I always share that is I know I didn't get here by myself. I was given a fair shot. This state and this country made an investment in me. They gave my family and my parents an opportunity, and that is what this election is all about, giving all of you, giving every American a fair shot. Because that's who we are as Americans. We want every successive generation to do better. We pay it forward. We're strongest when our middle class is strongest. And it is extremely important that all of you have that chance, because that is how we get back on track. Now, January 3rd, 2013, I was sworn into the House of Representatives. And, you know, standing there on the floor of the House taking my oath, and I looked up into the gallery, and there was my father. And in one generation, he could see his son get sworn into the House of Representatives and represent our great nation at the highest level. That is remarkable. But it's not enough that I can accomplish that. What makes us special as a nation is that all of you have to believe that you can accomplish anything that you want, that you have that opportunity, that out there is a future congresswoman or congressman, a future senator, and a future president of the United States. We've got to believe in that dream. We've got to make that dream alive for everyone. Because when you give someone that fair shot, you'll find a kid growing up in a single mom household in a small town in Hope, Arkansas, and one day that person can be the President of the United States of America. That is what this election is about, giving every American a fair shot at the American dream. I want my daughter to grow up with that dream. I want my daughter to believe she can be anything that she wants to be. Now, when I think about my daughter, she's not quite old enough yet to vote in this election. But when she votes in her first election in 2016, I want her vote to help us elect the first female president of the United States. I'm ready for that. But first, let's focus on an election that we have 6 days from now. You know, people are always asking me, Dr. Bera, what's wrong with Washington, D.C.? Why aren't you guys getting anything done? You know, it looks like you guys can't get along. And I'll sit there and say, well, you know, Congressman Garamendi and I, we've got plans. We've got a plan to make it here in America, to build jobs here in America, to rebuild a working America. But the Republicans say no. We've got a plan that would rebuild our infrastructure, our roads, our highways, here at home, our levees. But the Republicans say no. We've got a plan to make education more affordable for all of you, to make those investments in our research universities so we can cure cancer one day, we can drive our economy, and we can move forward. But the Republicans say no. Now, here's the deal. When I reflect back on the America I grew up in, we didn't spend our time talking about what we couldn't do. The America I grew up in, we talked about our dreams, our goals, what we wanted to do. And then you know what? We went out there and did it, and that is what this election is about. That is what re-electing me, re-electing Congressman Garamendi, it's about moving forward. In 6 days, let's get out there, let's make sure we leave no vote unturned. My election's gonna be a close one, and we're gonna need all of those votes. Let's go win. Let's go win this race. Now it is my great honor and privilege to introduce a close friend. John and Patty Garamendi have been wonderful mentors to Janine and myself. He's been a great person to work with, and he's been a lifelong servant, not just to our state, but to our nation. So it is a great honor and a privilege to introduce my close friend, Congressman John Garamendi.
Army, thank you so very much. Mr. President, welcome back to the University of California, Davis. Yes, and my family up there, Patty, children, grandchildren, thank you for joining us. Tell me, how does this go? Go. Go. All right, go Aggies. It's good to be here. I suspect we have some folks from Sac State and the community colleges here also. There has been no president, except the last 2 Democratic presidents, that have cared more about education than this man, Bill Clinton, and Barack Obama. You so well spoke about growing the economy, about opportunity, about how we can, as individuals, make it in America. And it all starts with what each one of you students are doing, and that is the best education system in the world, and you are participating in it at the University of California, Davis. You do not grow an economy, you do not grow a just society unless you have a great education system. And as Ami said so very well, We are determined as Democrats to make certain that the American education system, wherever it is across this broad country, is the best in the world, that it has federal government support as well as state and local support. And that is why earlier on this stage, you saw a man who is the superintendent of public education, Mr. Torlakson. He needs to be reelected. You also saw a woman up here, Betty Yee, who is capable of making certain that the tax system is fair and just in this state. So Betty Yee was up here, another great Democrat running statewide. And Alex Padilla. We're talking about yet another young man who grew up through the ranks and has become a leader in California. So you saw three great statewide candidates here on the stage, all of them. Put them back in office, and let's continue the progress in California. Oh, and by the way, re-elect Bera. Yes, it does start with education. Oh, Ami, you brought your touring section. 4,500 of them. That away. Yes, it starts with education, but that's just one step along the way. You have to build the rest of the process, the rest of the system. This university, the great research university that it is, provides step 2 in that process: education, research, and then you have to make something. And that's what we call the Make It in America agenda, rebuilding the American manufacturing sector so that the middle class can make it once again. All of us in one way or another pay taxes. Our tax money must be spent on American-made equipment by American workers. We can do that with public policy. It works. It works. Take a look at what's going on in your district, Ami, with the Siemens manufacturing plant in Sacramento and between Sacramento and Elk Grove. 80 Amtrak locomotives, 100% American-made, because somebody wrote into the law the money will be spent on American-made locomotives. 100%. We can do it. We can rebuild America. We can do it one locomotive at a time, one job at a time, one research project at a time. Ami, you spoke so well about the infrastructure. On the foundation of any economy is the infrastructure, the streets, the roads, the transportation system, the sanitation, the water systems. We must build America from the bottom up: education, research, manufacturing, and infrastructure. That is the Democratic agenda. It's nice to go to a rally. It's exciting to be with 4,500, 5,000 other people. It's exciting, right? It's exciting. It's exciting to see Bera, right? I'm just taking up valuable time. You're so forgiving. However, all of the excitement goes to no value at all if men and women don't exercise their privilege of voting. This is about getting men and women out to vote in this election. So I want you to take your energy, I want you to take that excitement, and I want you, after the president speaks, to get out and make sure that your neighbors, your mother, your father, your sister, brother, and everybody in your neighborhood goes to the polls, casts the vote, and prove that the American democracy actually works. Will you do it? United States will. Here he is, Mr. President.
Hello. Hello. Thank you. Love this campus. You've been good to me and my family. I had a great rally here in 2008. I was here with Ami and John in 2012. You kindly elected them, and I want you to do it again. I love California. And I came here 29 times in my first term. And the man who's now our ambassador to Germany, John Emerson, worked for me in the White House. And they called him the secretary for California because he kept driving me out here all the time. This man, John Garamendi, was my deputy secretary of the Interior. His wife, Patty, was the social director of the Peace Corps. Rich Rominger, who's also here, was my deputy secretary of agriculture for 8 years. And I want to thank my longtime friend, Angelo Sakopoulos. His daughter, Eleni, is here. She was President Obama's ambassador to Hungary, and she's just come home. I've been coming here a long time. Look, we're coming to the end of this election. And I think it's important that all of you know why you should vote. First of all, look at you. This is America's future. You've got diversity, intelligence, energy, and youth. I will say this, I see a few gray-haired people in this crowd, and I want to thank you for not eliminating my demographic entirely. So I am not all alone here. Garamendi's older than me, but he looks younger because his hair is still dark. He was for me when I ran for president in 1991 when only my mother thought I could win. Hillary and Chelsea were still undecided. We all go back a long way. But look, are you frustrated with all this gridlock in Washington? Does it bother you that the House of Representatives won't pass an immigration reform bill that passed the Senate? Does it bother you that they want to lower the cost of student loans, and these guys do, and let you pay back all your loans as a percentage of your income, and the Republicans want to raise the cost of student loans? Does that bother you? Does it bother you that they won't vote to raise the minimum wage or vote for equal pay for women for equal work? There's two reasons for that. One is, a different America shows up at most midterm elections than shows up in the presidential election. There are still millions of our fellow citizens that never miss a vote for president and always miss the votes in the midterm, where 100% of the House of Representatives is voted on, 1/3 of the United States Senate is voted on, most of the governors are voted on, and the state legislature. So if two different Americas show up, you shouldn't be surprised when you get two different results. The other problem is that too many states do not have the non-political reapportionment process for the House of Representatives that the state of California does. I've been working in the rest of the country, in Virginia and North Carolina, to tell you what we're up against. In Virginia and North Carolina, in 2012,
there were more votes for Democrats for the House of Representatives than Republicans. Like to know what the distribution is? Virginia has 9 Republicans and 4 Democrats. North Carolina has 10 Republicans and 3 Democrats, and the Democrats got more votes. That's what happens when you're afraid of competition, when you try to make it hard for people to vote, and when you gerrymander these districts instead of doing what you do here. Now, here's what this election's really about. It's not about all this sort of turmoil and anxiety, everything the Republicans are trying to stir up. Here's a relevant fact that I have not yet seen reported on the news in this way. We had a terrible blow to America when the financial crash occurred in 2008. In the last 150 years, whenever a financial crash occurs, it takes on average 10 full years just to get back to ground zero. That is, get back the jobs you lost in the crash. And Lord knows you know why it happened in California. All the people foreclosed on, all the businesses that went down, all the public employees that got laid off, the crisis in the universities, all the things that happened. Banks are afraid to loan money, people are afraid to borrow money, people are afraid to spend money, employers are afraid to hire people. Everybody just freezes up. In 1872, 1892, 1932 in the Depression, 2008, we've had 4 of these. Japan had one in 1990, and when I left office in January of 2001, they still weren't over. On average, it takes rich countries 10 years to get over. Last month, 6 years after it happened, the United States got over it. We got all of our jobs back. Tell you what a terrible job we're doing. Well, all we did was beat by 4 full years, 40%, a 150-year trend that goes over every wealthy country in the world. But I don't expect anybody to feel good about it because so many people haven't gotten a pay raise yet. Median income is still lower than it was the day I left office. So what does that mean? That means this election is about something big that has not been discussed. We are about to begin again. Fresh. We are finally out of the hole, and we have to decide how we are going to go forward. Right. And we believe we should go forward together, embracing our diversity, giving everybody a chance, building this economy from the middle out, giving poor people an honorable way to work their way into the middle class, making it easier to go to college, making it easier for people to be if they can distract you with enough stuff, make you think this is about Ebola or whatever the latest bad news headline is, and stop you from thinking, you will let them go back to trickle-down economics one more time. Now, since 1980, we have had 5 presidential terms of trickle-down economics. 3 were underwater. The best time it worked was when President Reagan was in office because we'd never done it before. We'd never gone on a spending binge and cut taxes, mostly for upper income people at the same time. That's the best they ever did. Let's compare that with the 1990s when I was there. Actually, the top 20% of us in both terms had incomes increased by more than 20%. And in the Reagan years, a tad better than I did, mostly because of the top 2%. The second 20% did 25% better in their income increase under the democratic way of growing the economy from the middle out. The middle did 50% better. The next 20% did more than twice as well. But listen to this, the bottom 20%, where the immigrants start and they have to build a future. In the Reagan years, their incomes increased over 8 years, 0.7%. In the 90s, 23.6%. Bera and John Garamendi want for you. They want us to grow together. They want you to revel in your diversity and still find strength in our common humanity. And here's what I know. You know, I don't even know if I'm a very good spokesman this year because it's such a all this mean ads and negative stuff, I'm not mad at anybody. I just live to have the thrilling pleasure of going to my 50th high school reunion. And I just became a grandfather for the first time. I'm happy and grateful, but here's what I do know. If you live long enough, you reach a certain point when you sense that even if you live to be 100, you've still got more yesterdays than tomorrows. And believe it or not, if you're still active and caring, you care more about the tomorrows than the yesterdays. You just want your children's generation and your grandchildren's generation to be able to live their lives to the fullest of their abilities and live their dreams. And I can tell you, when all is said and done, most of my life's my foundation. I, come out at election time, I tell everybody I feel at election time like I'm an old racehorse retired in a barn somewhere. And they decide they want me to come out, so they bring me a little extra hay. And they brush my coat down real nice. And they drag me out on the track and they slap me on the rump just to see if I can get around one more time. So here I am. The only thing that matters when you finish this work, are people better off when you quit than when you started? The young people have a brighter future, and are we coming together instead of being torn apart? Everything else is background music. If you look at where AMI stands on these issues, they say this is a difficult race because the Republicans have succeeded in trying to make you think that this is some referendum on the last thing that happened in Washington they can blame on the president. But he wants to raise the minimum wage and he's for equal pay. That'd be a good thing for share cost pay. So it's not. And the other opponents say, this is terrible, it costs jobs. Let me tell you something. I was governor of Arkansas when it was 49th in per capita income. I raised the minimum wage. I raised it when I was president. I tried to raise it twice when I was president. Every time I tried it, they said the same thing they're saying now. And they were wrong every time. Why? Because, look, if you raise it to 20 or 25 bucks an hour tomorrow, you would shut down some small businesses. No one is talking about that. But nobody should work full-time and have children in the house and have to raise them in poverty. That's wrong. And it's bad. If you raise in this country, 30 million people would get a raise because a lot of people just above the minimum wage also get their pay raised. And what happens? A lot of them are young parents with little kids. They've got all they can do to keep body and soul together and pay their bills and take care of their children. They will go out and spend all this. Then the people with whom they spend it will make more money. And they will have to order more of whatever the people bought. Then the people supplying that will make more money. And pretty soon you've turned it over in the economy 3 or 4 times and we're better off. They're wrong, we're right about this. And the same thing is true. With this equal pay law, it's not like there's no evidence here. Just because you often feel trapped in an evidence-free zone, whether you're talking about climate change or anything, doesn't mean there isn't any evidence. The evidence is that companies in this country, which pay women and men the same amount of money for the same work, have lower turnover, higher morale, higher productivity, and are more profitable. It would be good for the American economy as well as for American families if we pass the equal pay law. They're right about college loan reform. And they were right about health care. You've got 3.6 million Californians who have insurance under the Medicaid expansion or the medical exchange. So next year, the average increase is predicted to be 4% in medical costs. You know what it was before the law passed? In California, 15.7%. And we are bringing down medical inflation. It's been the lowest it's been in 50 years. Why? Because we're finally doing something together. If you leave a whole bunch of people without insurance, they wait till they're really sick, they show up at the hospital, the bills go through the roof, and the costs get passed on to everybody else in higher insurance rates. You don't have to do that anymore because of this law. Are there a few things that will have to be fixed in the next couple of years? Yes. You can't do it with blatant partisanship. You got to do it by looking at the facts and sitting down and acting like a grown-up and doing what you do with every kind of problem you've got. What are the facts here? Now, there is no country on earth better positioned to make the most of the 21st century than the United States. Because of our diversity, because of our youth, because of our universities, because of our tech base, because we can have manufacturing, because we rank first or second in the world in the capacity to generate energy from the sun and the wind, in addition to everything else, because of our current energy situation, nobody's in better shape than we are. Will there be trade-offs and decisions to be made? Yes. The question is, are we going to do it in a respectful way, or are we going to do it together? Here's what I know from my foundation work, which includes, by the way, 4 people I want to brag on. My 4 most senior people who were working in Liberia on the AIDS issue are still there dealing with Ebola, helping to contribute. In fact, the only thing that we can really do to end this is to stop it in Liberia and Guinea and Sierra Leone where it is. And you have to build health systems. So, what I know is everywhere in America and everywhere in the world, people are working together. They have their disagreements, they discuss things, but then they figure out what the best thing to do and they get the show on the road. Wherever that is going on, good things are happening. Wherever people are just building walls and lobbing verbal bombs across the parapet, or in some cases real bombs, good things are not happening. His immigrant story prepared him. Once he got a degree and became a doctor, and his brother became a doctor. They could have gone off someplace and become zillionaires. Instead, they came back to their roots and tried to help other people. And he went into public service. First time I ever visited John in his home, well over 20 years ago, and he told me the story of his family and their roots and how they became Northern California ranchers and growers. I thought to myself, that's what makes this country great. When we get together, work together, argue together. And this new politics of intense polarization funded by outside money designed to make you think that everybody in public life is some sort of a slug is nuts. It has a very particular purpose in this election, and that purpose is to get you to sit it out, to get you to voluntarily give up your power. You vote, they win. You don't, they don't. Simple as that. If you don't like the polarization in Washington, you must vote in this chamber. You must. Another day or so to vote by mail. You can take your vote by mail ballot yourself down to the polling place, or you can just go vote on election day. But it's really, really important. This whole election, all over America, all these close contests are going to be determined by 2 things. What do the remaining swing voters believe the election is about? If they think they have to cast a protest vote just because they're mad at things, that's not good. If they understand that we're finally back to where we can build a new future together, that's good. Because they disagree with what our friends in the Republican Party want to do on all these big issues we've been talking about. The other thing is, whether young people, people of color, people who are struggling to pay their bills and have to go to extra trouble to vote, whether they show up as they do in presidential elections. Whether the infirm elderly show up as they do in presidential elections. That's what this whole deal is about. That's really why we're here. So I am pleading with you. I know you've got these commit to vote cards here. I hope you'll fill one out. I hope you will vote. If you can vote by mail early, do it. If you can't, go down to the polls. but we need you. You look at this crowd. Think about how you feel every day, those of you who are students here. The country should work the way UC Davis works. The country should look the way UC Davis looks. I feel good about your future, but only if you seize it. Only if you say, look, the Supreme Court sort of hung a for sale sign on America with that Citizens United decision and allowed all these people to spend all this money in here trying to get you torn up and upset. I'm not young, but I've had lots of people try to sell me lots of things over the years. It's been my experience that anybody who tries to convince me of something by stopping me from thinking does not have my best interest in heart. I trust you to think. They trust you to think. They want to make it easier for you to think. Are you going to vote in the election? Yeah. Are you going to send a message to the country that California is the state of the future? We want to build and we want to do it together and we don't like this divisive politics. I'm for you. I'm pulling for you. We need you. Please be there Tuesday. Thank you. God bless you.